I gotta say that I've followed Pentanzer before. It's always like the best and worst thing that ever happens to me. So I'm gonna try and make him proud. So yeah, Jason did a really good job of setting this up. It's like transgenic experimentation and telekinetic communication between mutant twins, and it's all happening in this like secret laboratory. And finally, like, everyone who's working in the laboratory figures out what's really happening, and they decide to try and escape. And the excerpt that I'm reading tonight happens like at the escape point. So all you really need to know is that there are two twins. One is really, really evil, and his name is Marx. And one is really wonderful, a little girl, and her name is Astrid. And the scientists are Amesy and Jin. And Astrid is like so pure and wonderful and good that she manages to manifest, like, for lack of a better term, I'll say an angel who's been watching her this whole time, like waiting for the right moment to rescue her. And this is the moment right before that. And this like angel character, its name is Solo. Solo watches them from the shadows, the tall sloped slice of gin cutting smoothly through the crisp black night, a sleepy Astrid toddling behind him, their hands interlocked, and he moves with steeled speed. He is a man pushing toward an escape. Solo does not think to intercept them. This is not the moment he's been called here for. Still, every ion of his metaphysical being exists to help and protect this child, and so he stands ready. He watches closely. They are approaching the electrified gate, and Jin's pace slows, and Solo understands by this that Jin has uncharacteristically not thought through his plan completely. Anxiety pours from him, and Solo sees it as a phosphorescent aura radiating from Jin's head. He drops Astrid's hand and instructs her to stay where she is. He points towards the gate and then, looking back to Astrid, wags his finger. Danger. Don't touch. And Astrid makes to speak. Solo can tell by the way her suckled hand falls away from her mouth. And Jin, also sensing the impending sound, presses a finger against his lips and shushes her. Astrid wants to cry, and not for the comforts of her mother or for her home, but because it is so very late, and Jin has not packed her favorite books, and Jin has not told them where they are going or what is going on. She cries because Jin is crushing her hand, and he is sweating, and he is talking to himself, and it makes her afraid of him. Jin steps forward, a few paces ahead of the place where his young charge stands, her fingers like morning glory, creeping slowly toward the cave of her mouth again. Within touching distance of the gate, a humming orange floodlight springs itself upon them, pours down upon both their heads, the crackle of the sodium light audible even to Solo, standing so far beyond the range of their perception. And the sudden exposure pushes Jin into a reflexive crouch, and he sweeps his arm toward the field to the right of where they're standing. The gesture says to Astrid, "Run and hide in the field. Go, go, go." Jin makes to burrow under the fence to create a small tunnel big enough for both of them to squeeze through, and quickly, but it is too late. A man suited formally, as if he is on his way to a high-paying, high-pressure corporate office job, materializes from the buzzing orange light and steps between the crouching, frantic Jin and the futile tunnel to freedom. The man's left hand, solid and massive as a grizzly's paw, is choking the neck of Astrid's small apple sapling. Astrid whimpers but does not cry, but does not move or cry out. And Solo feels her fear in the illuminated space behind his eyes. It tightens his spine like a screw in a drill drive. The strangest of alchemic reactions, He transforms her prickly apprehension into a buttery yellow sense of serenity and sends it back to her across the distance that separates them. When it hits her consciousness, it takes effect like a sleek and well-designed drug. Her shoulders relax, and she watches what unfolds between Jin and the bear man with curiosity and carefully concealed amusement. The stranger in their presence is the only man after Jin and the contrived mannishness of Solo that Astrid has ever seen. He is holding her secret dream by its throat, has ripped it from the miraculous tiny garden of Astrid's creating, but the little girl feels no sadness. There will be other seeds, and she will begin again, and the fix is simple, the destruction small, nothing to get worked up about. The man encourages Jin into an upright position by way of a thunderous, jerking twist of the young scientist's shoulder, and there is an audible and nauseating pop as his humerus wrenches free of its ball joint. The pain of the injury immediately spurs him to neurogenic shock, and because his brain is compromised, Jin thinks, well, this is not very humorous at all. The man pushes the corpse of the tiny tree into Jin's face, shakes it very accusatorily, and Jin smells its bright green aliveness like glacial rain and wind whipped clean and drowsy ladybugs and industrious aphids. And Jin understands that this tree is not of the factory-made variety, and concurrently that this is a monumental discovery, the harbinger of brighter, better days ahead. Jin juts out his chin and tries to take another heady whiff, but the man grunts obscenely, slamming the tree to the ground in disgust. Chalky yellow dirt escapes the loose hold of the tree's tapered roots and muddles the air between them. And Solo wants so badly to go to Astrid, to pluck her like a violet in a valley, thread the stem of her through his buttonhole, settle her head against his shoulder. Still, this isn't the moment, the one he was called to shepherd her through. And to act out of turn would be to trigger a cosmic rift, open a little tear in the fabric of the universal code. He sends her serenity, makes her eyelids feel warm and heavy. He projects comforting images and memories of their haven in the tunnel, all those adorable little kittens in their cliched wicker basket, their yawning, pawning, sweet mewing. The angles of the slight smile flit across Astrid's petal-soft face. And the man points at Astrid, and this is all it takes for Jin to align his mind, his senses. He steps in front of the little girl with no hint of hesitation. There are angry words exchanged between the two men, low growling like dogs just before the snapping and snarling begins. And Jin is not backing down. He is using his good arm to push Astrid more thoroughly behind the shield of his body, and he is thumbing over his good shoulder in the direction of the compound. He is trying to make a deal, to barter one thing for another. Solo sees all of this in Jin's posture, his defensive, forward-leaning. Both men briefly fall silent, and then the brutish one points toward the compound's front entrance. He twirls his finger, gesturing for Jin and Astrid to turn around, and then he points to the entrance again. Turn around now and go back inside. We'll decide later how to handle this. Thank you.